Gwatney Unplugged, hosted by Scott Romine, is brought to you by Gwatney Buick GMC at 5700 Landers Road in North Little Rock, next to Sam's Club. Call 501-945-4444 or visit GwatneyBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
I am so excited to talk to our guest today. We've been trying to get him squared away on the show for a minute. Gil Combs is an actor, an assistant director. He's known for movies like The Bourne Ultimatum, Bad Boys 2, Deja Vu, a long list of my favorite films. How are you, Gil?
I'm good. How you doing, Scott?
Man, I'm good. It's just so glad to finally get you on the show. You worked on just about everything that had a big part in raising me, to be honest. But your dad was in the business when you were a kid, Gary Combs, and I understand this guy, he worked on Star Trek.
He actually doubled Shatner the first season.
Really?
Dad doubled Shatner the whole first season, and then and actually played the part of the Gorn.
Oh yeah, out there in the rocks in
the
California.
Big lizard thing.
Yeah, the big lizard guy. Really?
Yeah. So after all the stuff my old man has done, that seems to be the thing that people remember the most. Is wearing that damn lizard suit out in 110 degrees at Vasquez Rocks.
Yeah, that's right. And fans still go out there just to take pictures and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
that's a famous scene.
It definitely looks like another planet out there.
So you would have been about the right age to have been a young Star Trek fan when your dad was doing that. What was that like going to school, or did you go to the set of the original Star Trek?
I actually never did go to the set at that point. When I think the first year was 66,
yep,
67, and then 68. In 66, I was 8 years old. In 67, I was 9 years old. And the first time that I actually went on a set with my dad was on a thing called Blue. We were in Moab. Mm-hmm. And I actually have a picture that he gave me a while back where I'm standing there all dressed. I was working extra. It's the first time I actually worked,
cool. Too. Yeah.
So I'm all dressed up like a settler's kid, with the pants and the suspenders and the hat and all that stuff. So, but I'm standing there holding the bit on this fallen horse that we had back then. That later on, when I was about 12, I first learned to fall a horse on this same horse. His name was Whirlaway. And just an old bay horse. Anyway, Dad's sitting on the horse there dressed as a Mexican bandit, because that was the bandits against the settlers. And that's what the movie was about.
Wow. So, do you have memories of meeting major movie stars when you're a little kid? I mean, how cool would something like that be?
It was, it's funny. I didn't realize, when you're a kid, you don't really get the big picture.
Right.
Pardon the pun.
I still don't.
You don't get the big picture. We had Doug McClure coming over to the house. We used to call him Uncle Doug because Dad was doubling him on the Virginian, and McQueen was Dad doubled McQueen for a lot of years. And I actually got to work on the last thing that McQueen did before he died, Hunter. They called Hunter.
Yeah, about 80, I think.
And Dad coordinated most of his films there. The last 4 or 5 of his films he coordinated as well as doubled him.
What was he like?
McQueen, he was pretty normal, I thought. Of course, look, actors tend to be a little different around stuntmen.
Sure.
Most of them, I won't say all of them, but most of them have kind of a level of respect for us because of the things that we do, not only for them, but for, the films. And so I think we get treated a little bit better than most people by most actors, but, McQueen was just a very normal guy. I remember running into him years later when we were doing Convoy, when his wife at the time, Ally McGraw, was the co-star in it with Christopherson.
That's right. Yep.
And he showed up there, and he looked like Grizzly Adams. I mean, he had hair all grown out and a full-on beard. Looking back, I realized that That's part of the price you pay for fame is you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You get down to the corner market to get a quart of milk, you get mobbed.
Yeah, that's true. You can't go to
You know,
Walmart.
and if you're John Lennon, then you get shot. You know, so it's a weird world out there.
Yeah, it
really
definitely is. So, Gil, coming up, your class of stunt guys that I talked to, they always seem to have like there was an unwritten code amongst stuntmen back then, where you showed up early for work and you didn't take credit. You let the actor take credit. What was that like, and has that kind of went away?
I think it's been eroded away, not entirely, but yeah, there was, you know, you got to understand, and there's something else you left out. My grandfather, before my father, was stuntman in the 1920s, back in the silent era.
Wow.
Okay. So I'm third generation. So I learned from him. I learned from my dad, and yeah, there is an unwritten a code. And I think the business was better off for it than it is per se now.
Sure.
You know, it wasn't. I've won all kinds of stunt awards. Okay, I won one of the Lee Major ones. I won 3 Taurus World Stunt Awards. I've won the stunt award at the Screen Actors Guild. I won an award there for the driving I did on Bourne, and then I actually got a nomination for an Emmy for a show that I coordinated.
That's awesome.
But we didn't win. But you know, the thing about it is I've always really been hesitant about all this stuff. You know, there's guys pushing really hard for Oscars and things like that. And, you know, if it happens, it happens. I don't think it's going to. And frankly, I didn't get into the business to win awards.
Sure.
And I think when you start talking about breaking world records or winning awards, that's when, in my mind, that's when people get hurt.
Yeah.
That's when you push it too far.
Yeah, that's right.
And to me, well, that's the way I was raised. It's about getting the shot. If you get the shot and the director likes it, okay, let's move on.
Move on. Yeah. It's about being professional. You're not there to show off. You're there to get the shot.
You don't need to go back and do it again to get in the Guinness book. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I really do.
I understand. One of my closest friends with James Best, we were really close. I was like his adopted son. And you worked with him on Hooper. What do you remember about Burt Reynolds and that gang? And did that movie draw a bunch of people to Hollywood wanting to be stunt guys?
Well, I think it did. You know, it was inevitable, something like that. A show that was that big a hit and made that kind of money. You know, of course, it was directed by one of the greatest stuntmen ever, Hal Needham.
Absolutely.
So it had all the the pieces that were going to attract people. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that came just because of that movie. And that's unavoidable. You know, I think in a way it was nice. There were movies like that, and there continue to be. They give us a little more notoriety than most people. You know, and I think the biggest thing that I started noticing is, you know, when Screen Actors Guild actually started giving us screen credit at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
they would list some of the stunt guys, sometimes all of them. You know, I would have friends that would tell me, I stay to the bitter end because I want to see your name or or whatever, you know, and that's nice to hear. But again, you know, if they weren't paying us the money they were paying us, I wouldn't have done that stupid stuff. Of course, I wouldn't have busted my body up like I did either.
Yeah,
but it was a hell of a living, and it was really a lot of fun. It wasn't always fun, trust me. You know, getting hurt. I broke my back. I've don't have any rotor cuffs left in my shoulders, and I've broken dozens of ribs. You know, it just goes on, the list.
And there's a lot of hurry up and waiting on a movie set.
Oh, that's true. But that's typically Hollywood. Okay,
that's true. Yeah.
That's typically Hollywood. What is it we say? It's hours and hours of total boredom for about 30 seconds of scared shitless panic.
That's exactly how that works. Hey, your early movies I wanted to ask you about, because my favorite movie star has always been Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you worked on like his first movie, The Villain. Did you sit there and think there's no way this guy is going to be a star, or what is this weird movie we're making?
That was an interesting film. Again, that was directed by Hal Needham, and The Villain, and Kirk Douglas was the bad guy, and Anne Margaret was the love interest, and I'm trying to think of Arnold's character's name, like the handsome gentleman
or something. Yeah, that's right,
like that. Okay,
yeah.
Something really corny, and I got to tell you that the whole thing with, like, here's this guy playing a cowboy with this accent from wherever that hell he's from,
Austria.
Yeah. And it was just, but in a way I thought it might make the movie funnier, but it never really did. It was kind of a Roadrunner Coyote kind of thing. No matter what Kirk Douglas did to try and sabotage him, it all blew up in his face.
Yeah, it's just like a Roadrunner live action movie.
Yeah. It was so funny because we're working on this thing down in trying to remember the name of the town. It was right on the Mexican border, and I can't quite remember it right now. But anyway, nobody goes to dailies unless you have to. You want to go to the bar, you want to go to the restaurant, you want to have some time off at night. The word got out somehow. I don't know who started it, but everybody was coming into work the next morning going, you have got to go see dailies. This is the funniest stuff I've ever seen on film. So before that movie was done, everybody, you couldn't get a seat in the viewing room.
Wow.
It was people go in there and watch 2 hours of dailies.
That's
before
unusual.
They go to dinner.
Yeah.
It was hysterical. I don't know what happened when they cut it together, but I swear to God, it was nothing like what we saw at the dailies. It just, oh God, it was hysterical.
One of those had to be there kind of movies, I guess.
Maybe so. Maybe that's what it was.
How many cars did you crash for the Blues Brothers?
Well, I did my first, what they call pipe ramp or turnover on that film. God bless Gary McClarty, and God rest his soul. Gary McClarty gave a very young, wet behind the ears stunt kid a shot. And Bobby Bass, actually, who was on the film there most of the time with us, Bobby was the one that set me up, and basically, when I say set me up, it gave me his driving suit, his helmet, gloves, and his belts, the 5-point.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then we put it together, and he strapped me in when I left. And if you go back to look at the film, it's funny. For years I almost forgot about this, but I watched the film again the other night, and I'm about the first 2 cars go in, turnover.
Yep.
The next 2 cars, I believe, I'm one of those 2. And the way that I remember which car I was in is my back door comes open on this 4-door police car. The door come flying open, because I remember when it was all said and done, that's how I crawled out of the vehicle. The door was already open.
I got you. Well, yeah. I mean, y'all wrecked a lot of cars.
One, and then Bobby Bass wound up a few years later being my sponsor to get in Stunts Unlimited.
Did you end up meeting Belushi at all?
Well, I wouldn't say we were actually introduced, but we were around him a lot. And he was always there. He wasn't the most interactive guy.
Sure.
He and Aykroyd kind of stayed to themselves.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I ever shook the guy's hand, but he was, I was on the set with him many, many, many times.
That's so cool. So, of course, another car heavy picture you worked on. I gotta ask, did you drive the Lamborghini in Cannonball Run?
No, I didn't. I didn't drive the Lamborghini. I actually drove the Aston Martin. And
Really?
Roger Moore.
Oh, Roger
Yes.
Moore is one of my heroes. Did you
Yep,
meet him?
Roger Moore. I did.
Oh, was he not the real James Bond? I mean, come on.
Well, I was a Sean Connery fan, and I'm hardcore, so he was okay, but I always preferred Connery. Always.
I understand. I prefer Moore, and I think it has to do with when you were born and the first few Bond films you saw.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah,
I actually got to work with Connery later on a thing. Met him and got to work with him on The Untouchables when I was doubling Costner.
Oh, what a great movie. What a great movie. You worked on two of the best sci-fi movies ever. What are your memories of Blade Runner and Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan? I mean, that's two of the best movies ever. I could watch
Blade
them
Runner
over and over.
When you're making a movie, you got no idea what it's gonna be like. But that thing was so ahead of its time, as you know.
Oh, still
now
is.
Looking back,
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it was a tough film. This film, we were on the back lot at Warner Brothers for months and months and months, and it was nights, all nights. I don't think there was a day shot in the movie.
No, there's not. There is at the very end, but I think it was footage pulled from something else.
And it's raining 90% of the time.
Yep, that's right.
So they're making rain. It's cold. It's night, and it sucks. That was a tough one.
What was Rutger Hauer like, though?
I got along with him fine. Besides doubling him on that show, I actually doubled him on a thing years later called Crossworlds, where I did a whole bunch of fights with a quarterstaff for him throughout the movie.
Wow, that's cool. Were you around Harrison Ford much for Blade Runner?
A little bit, but he I hardly knew who he was.
Really?
At that point, because I think he just finished the Star Wars thing.
Yep, he had done that.
So, I mean, I'd heard the name, but I think that was really his first kind of coming out, was the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, that was, he had made, he'd been on a couple of little things, but yeah, Star Wars. And then in 80, he had made Empire Strikes Back. So he had two Star Wars films under his belt, because Blade Runner is 82.
Yeah.
So he's just starting.
Well, and as a kid, being around Bert and McQueen and the other guys that dad was always working with or doubling, he wasn't at that level yet when we did Blade Runner.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah, he was on his way up at that point.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was. Ricardo Montalban. You must have run across him working on Wrath of Khan.
I'm going to tell you something. That he's the nicest man. I'll tell you a quick story. I know we don't have all day. I used to work on Fantasy Island quite often, and I got a call to come in and double. I having a senior moment. Maybe I'll think of it later. Anyway, I was Dennis Cole. So I come in, and he's playing Tarzan in this episode. That's his fantasy. And so all I'm wearing is a loincloth, okay? And luckily, this is back early in my career when it didn't look too bad in a loincloth, all right? But that's been a while. Anyhow, I get there early. I show up early, like you were saying, showing up early and all that stuff. That was ingrained into me. So I'm there at probably a half an hour before call, and I get up in the honey wagon, and I'm in my room, and I think I had my coffee, and I'm thinking about putting this loincloth on and putting on a terry cloth robe that you can stay warm.
Sure.
Anyway, there's a knock on the door. And I go open the door, I look down, and there's Ricardo Montalban. And I'm thinking, oh crap. Did I get in the wrong room? Am I in his room?
The wrong trailer. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, anyway, that's the first thought I had. So he looks at me, and he introduces himself. So he says, hello, I'm Ricardo. And like I don't know.
Wrenched Corinthian leather. Yeah.
And he says, your name is Combs, right? I said, yeah. Is your father Gary Combs? He says, I said, yes, sir, he is. He goes, you tell him Ricardo says hello.
Wow.
He shook my hand, and then he went off to his trailer. And and then I worked with him on Wrath of Khan. He was just the same. He's a gentleman. Man was a consummate pro.
You went on to work on something that has such a cult following. It's unbelievable. Scarface. You worked on the Scarface film.
Yeah.
What is your memories of that?
Well, I was only there for the riot scene.
Okay.
Remember the riots they did down there in this encampment and they're I'm one of the cops, and they're people trying to climb over the fence, and I'm whacking them with the club, and pushing them back over. And then there were a couple other skirmishes that we did at different gates where they were trying to get out and stuff like that. But not a whole lot of that made the film. But that was where we were down underneath the Cloverleaf, the 4-level in LA. So that was the freeway you could see over and above where this encampment was.
So it's not in Miami at all.
Not at all. No, it was LA.
Well, I didn't know that. I thought the thing was shot on location or something.
Well, they shot a lot of it in Miami, but not that particular. No,
not that scene. I got you. You worked on one of my favorite films that was shot not too far from where we're at, RoboCop, shot down in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Was Paul Verhoeven a nut, like they say?
Yeah, we did that. Dad and I did that film with him. We also did Hollow Man with him.
The Kevin Bacon movie, I think.
Yeah, all I want to say, I'll say that he's different. Of course, Dad seemed to really he didn't gravitate towards them. They gravitated towards him. We did a lot of Peckinpah stuff. Dad did a lot of Peckinpah stuff. And Peckinpah was out there, let me tell you. Verhoeven was cut from about the same cloth.
Oh, he's out there. There's some genius to it. That first
for
RoboCop.
Some reason, they just love the old man. And if anybody that knows my dad, he just he's quiet, he's stoic, he's nothing like those people is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And yet they loved having him around. And it might have been just because, I don't know, maybe he somehow got them to control their energy a little bit. But he was always a weird fit, I thought, for Peckinpah and for Verhoeven. But boy, they loved him. They kept using him.
I've heard that, you guys got in trouble some, like the explosions around Dallas were too big, and like the gas station explosion I've heard was way over the top than what it was supposed to have been. Do you have any memory of that?
Wow. It's funny. I don't. I might have heard some rumors about, noise abatement or people in the area complaining, but
you blew up
when you make a movie, man, that's what happens.
You guys blew up a whole block down there,
it was huge. It was huge.
Peter Weller, what was he like, the guy in the suit?
Oh man, well, he was he could be a little difficult.
Really?
Yeah, we got through it, but in fact, for a while there, I'm not telling you anything that hasn't been said before. He basically got to the point where he didn't want to wear the suit anymore.
Well, you got to wear the suit.
And actually, almost borderline quit the show.
What?
And and luckily, my dad fit right in the suit. He was skinny, just like Weller, and so they started shooting a lot of scenes over Dad's back and on. When you're wearing the suit, who the hell knows who's in it?
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And so Weller, whatever leverage he thought he had, evaporated when they started shooting my dad instead of him.
Really?
And it wasn't long before he came limping back and went back to work.
Actors, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hate making general statements, but yeah, that one fits.
Yeah. That's one of those things. It's a great film, though. I mean, it is really, really good, really strong.
It is.
You worked on probably the definitive action film, Die Hard. What was that like, and where could we see you in the movie?
Well, Die Hard was, I only got a day on it, and I was doubling the tall, skinny brother that gets killed early in the film.
Okay.
You know, that guy.
Carl's brother, the guy that gets his neck broke.
Carl's brother. Right. Yeah. I was doubling him. And all I really had to do was there's a shot where he's going down a staircase, metal stairs.
Yep.
And he puts his arms out and picks his feet up and slides down the handrail and then jumps to his feet and runs out of the shot. I
know exactly the shot you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then he goes and cuts the phone lines with a chainsaw or something.
Exactly.
So all that was done in like the Fox building, correct? I mean, they didn't really build sets. They used the building that the movie company owned, right?
Well, where I did this piece was actually in a stairwell in that building, the Nakatomi building, that wound up being the Nakatomi building. But really only working a day on it. I'm not sure about the rest of the details.
I gotcha. Well, you also worked on Lethal Weapon 2. How much fun is it working with Mel Gibson and those guys?
Well, that was kind of fun. I got to play Australian, like Secret Service guy, and we threw Danny Glover out of the embassy, the Aussie embassy.
Well, somebody had to do it,
and there were about I think 4 or 5 of us. And I got to tell you what, man. Glover's he's about an inch taller than me anyway, about 6'2", and he's in those days was put together.
Oh, sure.
I mean, he was a handful. And I know he was just acting. I can't imagine what he would have been like if he was really mad.
Well, sure.
Oh man, we had to wrestle him around and wow, yeah, that was kind of fun. That was a fun day working on that. We were down in Beverly Hills shooting that where they pretended the embassy was.
I hear they're making another one, like a 5th one right now or something.
No kidding.
Yeah, supposedly.
Well, I mean, if it look at the Fast movies. How many of them are they going to make? I heard 10 was the last one, and then I just talked to a buddy of mine that worked on all of them. Of course, I would have worked on all of them too if I hadn't gotten hurt in 2008 and had to retire. But the same group of guys have gone forward and done all of them since then. And he told me that they're making 11.
Oh, of course they are.
Well, and I told him, I said, as long as they make money, they're going to keep making them.
Yeah, they're going to jump across the ocean.
When one loses money, they'll stop.
Yeah, as long as they're making money, they're going to keep pumping those things out.
Hollywood.
Oh, of course. Yeah. You work with 2 of the greats, Stallone and Kurt Russell, on Tango and Cash. I always thought that was a cool movie with a cool truck.
but we did so many big wrecks on that show. That was a blast.
Did you drive that big truck? Remember they had a big crazy monster truck in that film.
Well, they had the big the big earth mover looking thing.
Yeah.
No, I didn't drive that. Gary McClarty was the guy that drove that. But I flipped cars and I mean I did a little cannon there. I mean I probably did at least a handful of different gags. And that movie was tough too because all the action seemed to be at night.
Well, of course, like Blade Runner.
I remember we were out in some quarry out in Irwindale all night long doing this stuff, and that's what made that night work. It was always tough.
You took another turn at Die Hard. You came back for the second one. What are your memories of working on that?
I was on one of the SWAT team guys that get taken out at the that wing of the airport they were building the construction area.
Yeah, that's right.
And the terrorists, they take us all. I'm the guy with the shotgun. That's how you can tell me. And of course I'm I think I'm the tallest one with blonde hair. All the rest of them were shorter with dark hair.
Right.
But that was kind of fun. Remy, what's his name? Rennie
Harlan.
Rennie Harlan was the director.
Right, that's right.
Nice guy. We had a lot of fun. And then I didn't do the third one, but I actually did the fourth one. Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard.
Yep.
And drove the semi for Bruce, double Bruce driving the semi truck.
Oh, that's the one in New York with the bombs and stuff.
No, that's 3.
Oh, that's 3. I'm sorry.
That's
You're
3.
right.
The fourth one was the one. That was in L.A. and
that's where they're shutting down the virus and they're turning off the the water and electricity and all that stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What they call a fire sale. They were calling it a fire sale.
Yeah, fire sale. And somebody jumps a car into a helicopter, I think. In that one.
Well, actually, that was actually remote control, a remote car.
That was a cool gag, though.
Yeah, it was. It was. And I think I'm probably the only person to ever ski a semi, an 18-wheeler. I did that on that show completely by accident. I'm not going to take any credit for it.
And they leave it in.
They were launching. This is when the jet is trying to get launching missiles at him in the truck.
Yeah.
And they blow up. They got a nice shot of the asphalt blowing up, and the truck goes up on 9 wheels. You remember that?
Of course.
Sequence?
Yes, of course.
I actually was able to keep it there for 7.5 seconds at full speed. It's over 7 seconds. It was up there.
I'm sure they were happy with that.
And I'm up there going, how did I get here? and I'm actually, no, it's weird. And I didn't do anything except really steer straight. And the concussion put me up there. And I'm thinking, I got to steer back into this thing, or I could roll it.
Yeah.
So the only reason it went down is I steered back into it and set it back down. Well, that was the last shot before lunch. We broke for lunch, and the director and the coordinator, everybody comes to me while I'm sitting there eating lunch. He goes, Gil, we got to do that again. We got to do it again. We got to do it. And they're all over me. And I said, guys, at that point, I've been doing it like 25 years.
Right.
I've been driving a truck for 25 years in the movies and cars and whatever else. I said, that is the luckiest thing that ever has happened to me. Okay. Right. There is no way in the world I can do that again. Yeah. They go, well, we got to try. You got to try. I said, well, you know what? It's your vehicle. It's your truck.
Yeah.
So I'm here to do what you ask. So, okay, let's set it up and try it again. And I go to the coordinator after the directors. I said, Brian, I'm going to roll this thing. There is no way in the world that this thing is not going to turn
right.
Anyway, so we set it all up. I come at the same speed. I try to do everything identical, but it's, it just happened. Anyway, sure enough, boom, it goes off. Yep, rolled it right over on its side.
Just like you told them.
Yep.
I'm not Buzz Bundy, guys.
Yeah, well, yeah, and even, I'm telling you, even Buzz couldn't do that in a semi. I'm telling you right now.
No.
Because I knew Buzz very, very well.
Yeah, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
What about Terminator 2? What do you remember about that?
Just a lot of stuff on that Fat Boy Harley, Dublin Arnold. It's the only time I ever got to double a guy, and I fit right in the clothes and all that. And thank God for Gary Davis, who was the second unit coordinator and second unit director. He could have picked a lot of guys, but he picked me, and we did a lot of really cool stuff.
Did you do like the turnaround in the street where the cars hit each other when he stops or any of that? Because Peter Kent did the jump, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you did some of the stuff chasing the truck, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and zipping in and out of gates there leading up to the jump, and down in the wash and things like that.
That's so. I have a fat boy just like that because of that. Because
really?
of that movie. Oh, absolutely. Just because of that film. That's so great.
Wow.
Predator 2. You got to work on that one.
Yep.
And that was all in L.A.
That's another Danny Glover thing.
Yep.
We were cops. We were doing air rams and stuff because there were explosions and taking bullet hits and stuff like that in the street there as they're fighting that whatever they were, some kind of drug gang in the street.
Yeah,
the cops were having it out with them.
It's like Jamaican, Jamaican
right,
drug guys,
drug lords or something. Yeah.
So he's had so many problems lately, and God bless him. Bruce Willis, what are your memories of being around him?
I worked with him on Moonlighting when he was really first starting to
the TV show.
I worked on Moonlighting almost every episode for the 4 years it ran.
Yeah.
Very dear friend of mine was the stunt coordinator. So I was always there. And in the beginning, Bruce was a little rough around the edges, let's say. But as time went by, and actually, like working with him on the last Die Hard I did with him, and even 2 and 3, he was mellowing out pretty well.
I got you.
And he was just absolutely fine to be around.
That's so cool. You drove the bus in Speed, I understand.
I did. Every inch that thing moved, I drove it.
Wow. That must have been hours and hours and hours, probably weeks on end in that
18 weeks.
That bus.
I was driving that. I was on that film for 18 weeks driving that bus.
Oh my gosh. You're probably glad the sequel was a boat.
Whether I was on top in the crow's nest, we had about 3 or 4 different kind of setups at the bus.
Before we lost him, you worked with Chris Farley on Beverly Hills Ninja. Do you have any memories of Chris?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. He, it's funny. There's a sequence in there where he's supposed to be out in the middle of the ocean in a life raft.
Right.
And I was there as a safety diver to just make sure he was okay. And they shot it in such a way it was in the middle of LA Harbor is what it was, in a big open area there. So, and they had a walkie-talkie in a plastic bag and a Ziploc kind of thing, and so they could talk to him, and we could hear, I could hear when they'd roll, and so I would put my regulator in and go underneath the raft and just kind of hold on, and then when they would cut, he'd pound on the raft, and I'd come back up, and we were out there for several hours.
Right.
And boy, when he found out that I'd worked on the original Blues Brothers, this
oh,
it was so weird. Here's this big actor, and I'm just stunt grunt. That's all I am, stunt guy. And he's asking me questions like he's a little kid. What did he say? What was he like? He was so fixated on the fact that I had actually worked with Belushi. It was a total role reversal. I should have been asking him questions, but no, he wanted to know about everything about that movie.
Well, that was his hero, I mean, I've read that several times.
And what a terrible irony that they both died pretty much the same way.
It is, isn't it? It really is.
Very sad.
I'm sure there was many times you knew you were hurt, but you went back to work the next day.
Oh yeah. I worked on a thing called The Master years ago.
Oh, the Ninja show. Oh, I love that show. The Ninja. They drive around in the van.
Right.
Yeah. That's great.
I doubled Doug McClure for an episode on that one. My dad was busy, so I wound up doubling Doug. And there's a whole fight going on in this bar, and he gets thrown out the big pane window out the front of this restaurant or bar. And I remember the coordinator and the director both said, well, I want you to come out that window, and I don't want you to put your hands down. He says, I want to see you just go straight to your face, to your gut.
Oh.
So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to come out and do a pancake. All right, well, you hired out, so you got to try. Now, this is going way back far enough. I don't remember what years that series was going.
84,
but this is before the hard skateboard pads came in to being normal.
Yep.
So I had nothing but soft pads that I wore in those days. So I put on the elbow pads, and I think I snuck on some forearm pads, some old football pads underneath this long sleeve shirt. Down, not my hands, to kind of break my fall, so I wouldn't, do a face plant.
Sure.
So and probably the bottom of the window was at least, I don't know, maybe if you stood next to it, it was probably just below chest high. So it was quite a little bit of a ways to the cement out there. This is a sidewalk on a street in Santa Monica.
Good grief.
So here I come, out I come, boom, and I lit. Just like he said, I threw my elbows down, I threw my knees down a little bit, broke it just enough where I didn't, smack my face into the cement and break my nose.
Right.
And they loved it. Well, I knew immediately that I had done something to my right elbow.
Right.
Now, I still had the whole fight to do inside the building. All night long for Doug.
And you're
so
hurt.
Anyway, I go back in there, and I keep moving this arm because I know if I stop moving it, it's going to tie up and I'm screwed.
Yeah.
So I just keep all night long. I'm pumping this arm. I get off the set where nobody could see me, and I'd move it and I'd twist it. I did everything to try and keep it loose. Got through the night somehow. Miracle of miracles. And now we wrap at 6 a.m. as the sun's coming up. Another night job.
Right. Exactly.
So I had an old Trans Am that had a Hearst 4-speed in it, and that's what I drove in those days. And I remember driving up Santa Monica Boulevard, headed back towards the 405. I didn't make it to the 405 before my arm tied. This is my right arm tied up, and I couldn't shift it.
Oh no!
So I was actually having to reach. I had my right arm down on my legs, kind of steering the car, and I reached over with my left hand and was shifting.
Oh my gosh!
So I drive home. All right, on my way home, I'm thinking I got to go to the hospital. So I knew a hospital on the way home, so I pull in there. They X-ray it, and they say, "Yeah, it's broken." You say, "You cracked." If you go to your elbow, go to the bottom of your elbow, and feel that little piece of bone.
Yeah.
That sticks out down there.
Yep.
I broke the tip of that off.
Oh my gosh.
Now they said it's in a good place. It's going to reattach. We don't need to put a pin in there, but they put me in a cast. Well, I'd already accepted the call to go back to work the next day because I was there for several more days.
Sure.
Anyway, so I go home and I go to bed. I get up for work and I saw this cast off. And I go to work. With a broken arm.
Oh my goodness!
And luckily, I think I was just doing some driving that day, and then the coordinator found out that I had actually broken my arm. I told him what I'd done, and he says, "Oh man, okay, well," and bless his heart, he kept me around for several more days, just kind of hiding me.
Sure.
With not much to do. Finally, he comes to me one day and he says, "Gil, they caught me. I got to let you go. Can't bring you back tomorrow." I said, "Bill, don't give it another thought. God bless you for
sure hooking a brother up."
But that's kind of that's kind of what you do as a stunt guy. You don't and, like I said, I broke my back doing that endo cannon, and luckily I didn't have any work after that, and of course I was in a brace for a while, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, the story I told you about the cannon I did in Australia for MI2,
right, was
the very next stunt I did after I healed up. I flew to Australia and I did that cannon before I hadn't even had a chance to really test my back.
And just jump in there and did it. And you were okay.
That was in June, and I broke my arm in, was it, no, wait a minute. That was in May, and I broke my arm in March.
Wow.
So I had just a few months to heal up. And luckily it was no problem. The cannon went perfect.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're just tough, you know, part of it, I guess.
Yeah, it is part of the job.
And you got hurt is the reason you retired. Otherwise, you'd be in this Bad Boys 3 that just came out.
Unfortunately, the last pipe ramp I did on some little film nobody ever saw, I think called Kites. It was made for India. I've done 200-300 of those kind of pipe ramps over a 35-year career. And this one, unfortunately, it hit me kind of weird. It was a weird landing, going into soft dirt, which always sucks because you decelerate much quicker that way than you do on like asphalt. You slide on asphalt.
Right.
But my brain started bleeding. And before I knew it, actually took several weeks before I finally had my first episode. Unbeknownst to me, subdural hematoma had started in my right frontal lobe. And after a few weeks, it started to push my brain out of position as it got bigger.
Oh, my God.
Right brain, left side, my whole left side shut down. So I thought I was having a stroke. And
so they pretty much tell you you're done with the stunt business.
Well, yeah, I mean, the minute I got there, there were people in the emergency room. They started running around the room, running into each other, and I don't really feel all that bad, except that my left side ain't working.
Right.
Before I know it, literally in under an hour, I was in the ER for the first time, having the first of, I found out later, 3 brain surgeries that were performed on me in the next 48 hours. The first 2 procedures that they didn't get all the blood out and couldn't get the bleeding to stop completely. Finally, they tried a 3rd procedure, and it worked, obviously, because I'm still here.
Yeah, obviously. But you can't be doing those hard impact stunts.
So as difficult as it was for me at age 50, because I was in incredible shape in those days. But I was not ready to retire, is my point.
Sure.
So it's been a real adjustment, and I will, frankly, I'll say it out loud. Retirement sucks.
You got to have something to do.
I'd be much rather going to work with my friends.
What, do you go fishing? You got any hobbies?
Unfortunately, most of the things I used to do, I can't do anymore because of the brain damage. I can't team rope because if the horse falls down, I'm probably a dead man. I can't ride a motorcycle or bike because my balance sucks because of the brain injury. I can't scuba dive because the brain, the pressure on the brain. I could go on.
Yeah. I love all those.
No snow skiing, no water skiing. Now, all the things that I took for granted, they're gone.
That's awful. Man, if I couldn't ride a motorcycle, I'd go nuts.
It's been a real, pardon my mouth, real bitch.
Yeah.
Really has.
No question. Man, I appreciate you taking time to come on the show and tell us these stories of your career.
Well, I hope your audience enjoys it. And I've certainly enjoyed talking to you, my friend. I hope someday we can actually meet.
Man, I hope so. I mean, these movies you've worked on, that's my sports. I couldn't name outside of Michael Jordan. That's not my deal. I like these action movies and stuff of the 80s. You know, and you've worked on all the best ones. I mean, RoboCop and Die Hard and all. I mean,
I
nothing
was
better than that.
a very blessed man. Let me say that. Very, very blessed.
Yeah, I mean, to be on the set of, you know, Blade Runner and all this stuff is just, to me, it blows my mind. You know?
Yeah. It just, you know, like I used to say all the time, it beats working for a living.
Yeah, absolutely. If you do something you love, you never go to work a day in your life.
Never go to work a day in your life. And I lived that dream for 35 years.
Man.
And what's really helped me is to look back and be grateful for what I did and where I was and who I was with, rather than you know, the anguish that goes on because I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, you've still got the movies and you've got the memories.
Yeah, and thank God I still get the residuals too.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Gil. I really appreciate you.
My pleasure, my friend.
I'll get all this edited together. It will air not this Saturday across Arkansas, but it'll air the next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central. And I'm going to cut together a podcast version, and I will send you the link to that.
Oh, that'd be appreciated.
So maybe you can put it out there on Facebook or something like that. But
thank you.
This is so up my alley. To give you an example, I mean, Corey Eubanks is one of my best friends, and
Corey and I go way back.
Man,
way back.
He is, you know, it's amazing how good that guy is.
Yeah, and he's just as good, so good looking. I really hate him.
Yeah, don't you though? I've learned to live with it, you know, but whatever. It was funny when you said I was supposed to double somebody on Fantasy Island and you couldn't remember the name. I started to say Hervé Villachez.
No.
Wasn't him.
The plane.
The plane. That's right.
Yeah, no, I finally did come up with the name, right? Dennis Cole. That's right. Dennis Cole.
Yeah, right. The rich Corinthian leather. Remember, that's what Ricardo was always talking.
The Cordoba.
Yeah, the Cordoba.
Leather. Corinthian leather.
That's it.
And you know, in an interview I saw, he said he made that up.
Yeah, I read a thing about it the other day.
About it. He said, what's clear? He said, oh, it's just something I made up.
Yeah, it's just leather. Yeah, the name makes it sound, you know, special.
Oh, it's so plush. So yeah, gotta have one of those. Oh,
That's hilarious.